So, greetings, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever part of the world you're listening to our podcast. My name is Al Mina, concept author of Face Economics, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development worldwide. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday morning. It is 4:45 on the dot, Saturday morning here where I'm currently located. And I've just been paying attention to, the looming government shutdown that will take place today. I believe by midnight this evening, if both Republican and Democratic Party elected officials can't come to terms with a budget for the government, it is very likely that many federal government employees, as well as the beneficiaries of the services provided by the government, will be affected. Which I don't understand why would that even, be necessary, because they're American citizens. Okay. As you all know, we've been doling out billions and billions of US taxpayers' dollars to go to Ukraine, and lo and behold, several top level government officials went on the record regarding what they managed to come across while reviewing the funds that was sent over to Ukraine. So these are United States government officials. Okay, folks? And they went on record explicitly and specifically and bravely, okay, sharing their concerns, sharing their overall objection for the U.S. government and our taxes to be continuously sent to Ukraine to be embezzled by their corrupt government officials. I mean, I'm not, trying to muddy any water. I'm not trying to attack Ukraine. I'm simply stating what the U.S. government and our officials already know about the situation in Ukraine. And yet, the Democratic Party and Republican Party elected officials are still sending out billions and billions of aid to Ukraine, even though they've already know the situation. So I just don't get that. And now they're banging heads about a looming government shutdown where our citizens, our country, and the beneficiaries of services that we are entitled to receive as Americans due to us paying taxes could be affected, and it could adversely affect our livelihoods and life in general. Okay, I just don't get it. Really strange when our government officials already know what's going on in a foreign country and how the government of that foreign country is embezzling US taxes. And yet we continue to send money overseas and fight over our debt ceiling. I mean, I don't claim to be, the know-it-all brainiac. I've got the solution to every single problem there is, but I'm, simply just questioning the logic behind all of this, government shutdown situation and raising the debt ceiling when we're wasting away tax dollars overseas and sending it to countries that the government already knows that the money is being embezzled. So it makes me wonder, perhaps, the US and our system should be revamped and looked into, where we can introduce term limits to decision makers that are clearly not thinking, coherently, and not justifying the opportunity, or even utilizing resources that is readily available to make sound decision. I just don't understand how our government is operating right now, especially the last couple of years. It's like we're stuck on stupid or something. It's like we can't get out of that rut. We can't get out of being stuck on stupid. Why can't we unstuck ourselves from being stupid? Reason maybe is because the people that created the problem are the same people trying to fix it, and they don't know how to fix it because their logic is so muddled with their disjointed and incoherent justification of their behavior and their decision-making process. Look, I'm in management, right? I do consulting work. I do a lot of analysis and economic development worldwide. If I see something that is problematic, a red flag, or any situation or condition that is a pre-existing condition, I find a way to fix it or find a way to understand what's causing it. I don't know when all these elected officials in government graduated from college, when being efficient and being a strong problem solver and decision maker was introduced into the curriculum in the academia. I don't know when they graduated. I have no idea how they were trained or taught, or if they were even continuously learning, so that they can improve their decision-making process and heuristics. But the way things are being done right now, I'm very concerned on the direction and the overall system of our government. Look, when you're already at a deficit, and you know that you're in a deficit because you put yourself in a deficit, why would you fight over people, or why would you even fight against anyone that wants to help you get out of that deficit? And the way to get out of that deficit is to figure out how you got into it to begin with, and why did you decide to get into that deficit. I mean, this debt ceiling has been going on for the last, in 10 years we had 4 debt ceiling government shutdown issues in 10 years. Imagine that. It's like we're becoming such an unstable government system and society that it could reduce our credit rating as a country if we don't get our act together. Look, folks, I'm all about helping other people. I specified this previously in my previous podcast. I'm all about helping every person on this planet if I could, but we can't, pour out of an empty cup. We gotta fix our overall economic condition, our system of government, our decision-making process. We gotta, figure that out first before we can, start doling out billions and billions of dollars, especially when we're doling it out to countries that is not directly connected to America. Ukraine is not directly connected to America. Ukraine used to be directly connected to Russia. Russia, folks, not America. And yet we're sending them billions and billions of US tax dollars. And we already know the government officials that basically appropriated all these billions of dollars that was sent to Ukraine to be embezzled, have already gotten proof from top government officials that are reviewing funding or reviewing how these funds are spent, and even watchdog organizations have already exposed corruption in the Ukrainian government, and it's like we're not paying attention. Okay, if that were to happen in Europe and the European Union and the citizens of Europe found out that their money is being embezzled, guess what? They'll be the first one to shut everything down. Okay, I mean, there's going to be quite a bit of, reshuffling of government priorities in Europe. Okay, when European taxpayers found out that their taxes are being squandered and mismanaged by beneficiaries of their taxes. Why can't we be like that? Why can't we operate efficiently as Americans? I don't get it. Okay, we have decision makers that are so old and so unreliable in their decision making processes and justification of their decision, that it's affecting the next generation. It will definitely affect the next generation of Americans. I shouldn't just say it's affecting now, because it's definitely going to affect the next generation of Americans and their children's children. Okay, based on the way that our decision makers today, they might not be around in the next 10, 20, 35 years. Okay, maybe that would be the case if they're not around, but they can't possibly be so self-centered, thinking that there won't be the next generation of Americans that will have to carry the burden that they've created, that shouldn't have been created, that they've imposed on the next generation. I just simply don't get it, folks. I mean, I'm not trying to dog anybody out. I'm not trying to, be all high and mighty. I really am not trying to do that. I'm just trying to basically, do is to make sense of all of these decision making process. That's what I do. I deal with executives. I work with, business organizations and decision makers to improve their efficiency and create productivity, as well as being a more solid, structurally and sound system of managerial, organizational capacity. That's what I do. Okay, I mean, that's by training, through my training and through my experience. I mean, I've written books on systems that are outdated, but that's besides the point. I mean, I'm just basically talking now about things that are very extremely simple to fix. I mean, it's not like I'm giving a lecture or training on managerial capacity building. I'm not even getting into business decision making processes. I'm simply talking about simple things that our government should employ and deploy in order for us to become more efficient and successful government system. Okay, there really isn't a need for a shutdown. Shouldn't be a need on having to deal with debt ceiling being raised every single year. I understand it's election season and all, and there's got to be a lot of mudslinging. There's got to be a lot of, maneuvering in politics. I get it. I used to work for a politician. I myself run for the U.S. Senate. I get that that's just the situation. It's just because of an election season. But guess what, folks? If our country basically tank, there won't be much of an election season ever again in U.S. history. If we fail as a country and as a government system, we're going to be in really a very problematic condition within the next couple of years. And so, folks, I just thought I'd comment on this government shutdown. I have been paying attention to it since yesterday to make sure that I keep up with any new situation that could, jeopardize the overall operation of the federal government. With that said, folks, thank you for joining me. My name is Al Mina. I'm the concept author of the Face Economics, former U.S. federal government financial analyst. Okay, I used to work for the federal government, and I'm just trying to make sense of it. All these, government shutdown issues, um, and hoping that I can, impart some of my background on analyzing our own government system to help the American people decide on the next election if they want to continue to hire the wrong representatives. Okay, folks, the election is all about hiring our decision makers. Well, typically, it's the other way around. Decision makers hire their employees. But in government, the people are the decision makers that makes the hiring to represent us in government. But unfortunately, our decision makers, or the ones that we've elected, have imposed on themselves to make that decision on our behalf, even though they never consult with us. They never ask us if we want to continue to support Ukraine. They never ask us how much and for how long. They never asked us any of those questions. They just basically write off a check for billions and billions of dollars without asking the American people, how much do we want to continue to support Ukraine, for how much, okay, and is it even justifiable for us to support Ukraine, especially now that government officials, top government officials in the U.S. Went on record and said, okay, there's quite a bit of corruption and embezzling going on within the Ukrainian government. But you know what? They already know that. It's not like it's news to them, right? So, I mean, that's the whole issue why Ukraine is in such a bad, situation. But they already know that. And so, yet they overlooked it and went ahead and sent our U.S. taxes to a country that they know would most likely take advantage of our generosity and use the aid that we provide to them for their own purposes, for their own self-serving purposes. And that's not me talking. That's, basically our top government officials that were investigating the funds that went to Ukraine, and the people that were managing those funds. So they were the ones that managed to uncover all this. I'm just reading the news. So with that said, folks, before I let you go, I still want to go ahead and, raise Mr. Gonzalo Lira's name to your awareness. He's still basically a prisoner of war. He's missing in action. No one knows where he is. He's a YouTuber and, online influencer, social media influencer. So he's missing in action. Hasn't posted anything on his social media pages or YouTube channel. So he is still classified as a prisoner of war. And we don't know what happened to him or if we're ever going to see him again. So I just thought I'd give him a quick shout out. He did his best to educate the American people and the world regarding his observation of how, the Ukrainian government is operating. So, yeah, like I said, no one knows where he is or how he's doing. I mean, there's some people that says that, they don't really like his character or whatever, personality. I don't know this guy myself. I didn't know nothing about him as a person. All I know is he's an American citizen and he did his best to expose corruption in the Ukrainian government. And he was a distressed U.S. citizen. And so technically a distressed U.S. citizen is supposed to be provided assistance by our government. But I guess that didn't happen. Or if there was any form of assistance, then it was fairly limited since he's back in prison. So with that said, please continue to support us on Patreon. Join our community and share our podcast, as well as our campaign, our Face Economics campaign worldwide, which is the utilization of the social media platform in economic development worldwide. I'm all about helping people. Don't get me wrong. May there be Americans or non-Americans. I'm all about helping people. It's just that I do not want to reward corruption. I don't want to reward rogue governments. I don't want to reward people that are doing wrong, and clearly something's got to give. Something needs to be improved. Something needs to be, worked on regarding some of these countries, especially poorer countries that are receiving aid from the American taxpayers. Okay, because the taxes that are sent overseas to Ukraine does not belong to the government officials. Okay, they don't belong to those that sign off on billions and billions of dollars worth of taxes to be sent over to Ukraine. The money belongs to the American people. We paid into our taxes. We paid into our Social Security pot, so that one day we can utilize that same, funds for when we're no longer able to work, or if we want to support our friends and allies overseas with some funds. Some, not all, some. Okay. So with that said, folks, thank you for listening. My name again is Al Mina. I'm the concept author of Face Economics, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development. Wish you all a wonderful weekend. Please let me know if there's anything that you would like for me to talk about on our next podcast. Feel free to comment at the bottom section of this video blog. And I'm also going to include the link to our podcast below the description of this video blog. Thank you, folks. I truly feel honored for you to listen to my podcast and for your continued support. Take care. Bye-bye.